Okay. Hello everybody, welcome back to Lessons in Filmmaking. This is technically the first one of this year. Now I made another video a couple weeks ago, just kind of an intro to the year, but this is going to be the first installment of this series for the year, and I am very excited. So you probably can't see, but I have a bunch of stuff all around me right now. Some of it's right there. Today, what I wanted to do in this video was give you my complete and total guerrilla filmmaking gear breakdown. Now, I made one of these years and years ago. I was like 17. I didn't own very much gear at all, but I made a little video just to show what I have and what I was using at the time to bring projects to life. So today, what I wanted to do, now that that video is privated and has experienced YouTube death, I wanted to make an updated version of that where I sort of show you the types of tools that I'm working with today as a low-budget filmmaker in the professional space. Now, I just want to say preemptively, forgive me if my eyes keep drifting over this way. I'm using a new camera, which I'll talk about in a second. And I finally have something with like a flip out screen so I can sort of more or less see myself. Okay, so let's talk about cameras and what type of cameras I am using to make stuff these days. So like I said, right now I am filming on a different camera, which I will talk about in just a second. But my main cam, my favorite little low budget tool is this guy right here. This is the Sony a7S II. So it's a full frame sensor. It's a really great camera. It's a little bit older. In fact, it's actually discontinued. It's not really being sold anymore except on the used market. And I love this camera. I've got it in a little cage, another thing I will talk about in a second. But I think this camera really holds up. It does excellent in low light. It just produces a great image quality despite being such an old camera. The one downside to this camera is it takes older Sony batteries, so the battery life is really not good. But that said, I have a solution, which I will talk about in a moment. So this is my A-cam, Sony a7S II. I bought this on eBay. I bought it used, and I got it for something like $900, I think, and that was including a speed booster, another thing I will talk about in just a moment. So the other camera, obviously I can't hold it in my hands because I'm using it right now, is one that I actually just bought very recently. It's the Sony ZV-E10 II. Now this is a smaller camera. It's not full frame, it's an ASPC sensor, but it's still mirrorless. So I have the ability to swap to many different lenses, but so far I'm really enjoying the camera. It's primarily kind of marketed towards content creators and vloggers and people just looking for slightly more casual use. But I really believe that this is a great bang for your buck camera. You can get so much use out of it. I already am getting so much use out of it. And I really think it's a good camera to just kind of have in your bag, have in your back pocket if you're looking for something that looking for something a little bit more low-key is what I would say. It's a great camera. It feels a little bit plasticky in its build, and I'll include some footage here so you can actually kind of see the camera, what it looks like, what it feels like. I really like the flip-out screen. It just makes things so much easier. It's a great camera for casual use, but I'm actually about to use it tomorrow as a B-cam on an independent documentary that I am working on making right now, because I really do feel like the capabilities of this camera are really good, and despite it having some downfalls as opposed to some of these more expensive full frame cameras, I think it's a great camera to have. And this camera all in cost me $968 exactly. Okay, I want to move through these kind of quickly because I have a lot of stuff to talk about. The next thing I've got going on, let's talk about my tripod. This is a some kind of Benro tripod, the KH25P. Just bonked myself in the head with this. This is a fluid head tripod. It's really great. It's easily adjustable. Some of these knobs are a little bit plasticky and kind of hard to twist sometimes, but all in all, it's got a great build, super versatile. I use it all the time for so many different things. I'm not using it right now because I'm borrowing some equipment from somebody for this thing tomorrow that I just mentioned, and his tripod is a little bit better than mine. Plus, I wanted to be able to show it off. This is a great tripod, super easy to use. It cost me, I think, about $125 or maybe something like that, and it's lasted me a good long while. So this is my tripod. I love this thing. Okay, perhaps the most important thing in building any kind of guerrilla filmmaking kit is to think about lenses and glass. One of the most important lessons I've learned in the venture of filmmaking is that the lenses are more important than the camera. It's important to have a good sensor and to have something that really can produce a good image quality, but it really comes down to the lenses. So get a mirrorless camera, but really think about what kind of lenses you want. I don't have a ton of lenses. That's an area where I need to get some more. What I'm working with right now is I've got some of these Rokinon Cine DSX series lenses. I've got a 24, a 35, a 50, and an 85. So more or less a nice little set. The missing pieces are to have something, like a 14 or 16, and then maybe like a 135. But those are areas where I don't really feel like I need them. So for now, these lenses work really nice. Again, I'm gonna add some additional footage of the full set. This is the 35, but I really love these lenses. They look great in any scenario. I've used them for interviews. I've used them for short films. I'm using them for this documentary. I've used them for just a grand number of reasons. And I really, really love these lenses. And they're reasonably inexpensive for this type of lens. So like I said, these are great lenses, great for so many different things. What they're not great for is anything workhorse that just kind of requires you to very quickly switch your focal length. These are fixed focal lengths. So like I said, great for interviews, good for short films. But one thing that I really need that I don't currently have is some kind of workhorse zoom lens that gives me a lot of range. So that's next on my list for sure. Also because I'm ridiculous and I'll take whatever I can get. I bought all these lenses I bought used. And so I have 2 of them that are Sony E mount and 2 that are EF mount. Super annoying. I know it's super annoying, but I do have a solution. I'll talk about it a little bit later. These lenses, all 4 of them, I bought them used kind of for different prices from different people. Cost me something like $600. Okay, let's talk about audio and what I am currently working with when it comes to audio. So my primary piece of audio equipment, because I'm not an audio person, it's not what I generally think about, and while I want it to be good, it's not my forte. What I'm currently working with, and this is just the case because I do have it on this camera right now, is the Comica VM20. It comes in this really nice, sturdy little case. I'll include some extra footage so you can actually kind of see what the microphone looks and feels like. But it's a really, really great mic. I believe it's a cardioid mic, so it's pretty directional. You kind of have to be right in front of the mic or even right behind the mic. It'll still pick up well, but if you're on either side, it's not very omnidirectional or doesn't have that function. So that's definitely one downside, but all in all, it's a great microphone. I bought it because the gear I'll talk about in a second are the mics that really have not served me well. I bought this as sort of an upgrade, and I've used it in the past few videos I've made here, and I think it's worked out pretty well. Another thing I love about this microphone is it doesn't take any external batteries. You charge the microphone directly, you know, like it's an iPhone. So I really, really like that feature. I don't feel like I'm wasting a million batteries. I don't have to spend a bunch of extra money on batteries just to use this microphone. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this thing. All in, this microphone, I bought it new. It cost me something like $100. Okay, so this is the original piece of audio equipment that I had. I bought these not ever really intending to use them professionally. I did a couple of times, kind of regretted it because they, you know, these mics have had a very slow decline and I don't really use them anymore. I just kind of have them on hand. These are, the brand is called Vegu. So these are kind of like, you know, these are the mics you see when there's people making social media videos and they just need something to clip on themselves to, you know, have a little hidden mic and get some audio so that it doesn't sound like their stuff's being recorded from an iPhone. I bought these for a pretty simple purpose. I was doing a video for my grandfather, just sort of helping him kind of record and preserve some stories that he wanted to tell, and I wanted to have a wireless microphone to put on him, but I didn't have a lot of money to shell out. So I bought these, just thinking, oh, well, these will be good for that. These will maybe also be good for YouTube videos and stuff. I'm sure you've seen, I've used these a couple of times in the videos. You might hear a plane passing right now. I hope that doesn't pick up on the Comica mic. We'll see what happens, I suppose. But these mics, you know, they were fine. They sounded all right when I first bought them. I'm not gonna lie, they weren't terrible. And then for some reason, the more I used them, the worse they got. So I think that definitely has something to do with the overall quality and the build of these mics. Eventually, I just started getting a bunch of noise, a bunch of hissing for no apparent reason. I never really figured out why. So all that said, I don't really use these anymore. Maybe there's a purpose in there somewhere, but yeah, I used these for a little while, still have them, and they cost me about $80. All right, next up, moving right along, let's talk about my monitor. So, this little guy's got a bunch of little bits and gadgets to go along with it, and I don't really have a great case for it as of right now. But this is, oh gosh, what is this? This is I don't know the exact model, but it's a Feel World. It's a 5.5 inch little monitor. It didn't cost me that much, and it's pretty good. It's a little plasticky in its build. Some of the buttons are a little annoying, and I do wish it was touchscreen. It is not. But this is a nice little monitor. It's just a great little add-on to throw on top of my camera so that I can actually like actively see what I'm looking at. I have features with, you know, peaking. I can put a grid on here. I can change the aspect ratio. So it just gives me a lot of options. It's pretty good. So I like this monitor. It's really helped me out in many, many ways. I've used it a million different times. Of course, you do get a bunch of little tools to be able to like actually put it on your camera. I got a little, what is this? HDMI to micro HDMI. I do think I had to buy this separately, so that technically doesn't fall into this price. You'll definitely find when you're starting to build out your equipment that a lot of times you'll buy one thing and then suddenly you need another thing that costs you another $25 or $30. So that's one of those things. But all in all, I really like this monitor. I love this brand, Feel World. They've got great reviews. I'll probably stick with them unless I start making a bunch more money, and then maybe I'll seek out something better. But for now, this monitor works swimmingly. And this monitor, new, cost me about $100. So it's on the lower end, but like I said, this is my low budget guerrilla filmmaking kit. Okay, let's talk about batteries. I've got a couple of really just the same kind of battery externally to used to power my camera for a long time. Again, I don't have great case, any great kind of case for this. I just keep it in this little cardboard box, which seems to work fine. But these are the, gosh, how do you say this brand's name? Momon, something like that. Power 95. So they're, I believe, 95 watt V-mount batteries. They're super small, a lot smaller than some other V-mounts that you might see, but I actually really like that because the cameras I'm working with right now are not huge. So I'm not working with these like huge rigs. I'm working with kind of small compact cameras. So it works really well to have these little guys to just throw on because they don't add too much weight. They're not super obnoxious. I have 2 of them. And these are, honestly, I have nothing but good things to say about these batteries. Powered my camera for like 8+ hours using one of these guys. I really love these batteries. They're just super easy to add to your kit and to your rig. And I mean, I would just highly recommend really any V-mount battery to someone that's trying to do, to do the work of filmmaking. But more specifically, I've loved this battery. I could not recommend it highly enough. So I have 2 of these that cost me about $100 a piece. So all in, that is about $200 for these batteries. Okay, so now let's just talk about some little things, little extras, essentials, ins and outs. Of course, I've got some SD cards. I keep them in this handy dandy little case. Just got a couple in there right now. Don't have a ton of them. I need to get a second kind of faster writing one. I have a 3rd one that's in this camera right now. But I've probably sunk about, I don't know, $70 into SD cards as it stands. Okay, this is a little handy piece of equipment, just goes on my rig. This is a small rig, V-mount plate, just super easy to mount onto the cage, which I mentioned earlier. I probably need another one, or maybe one that's a little bit better, but this does well for now. It's probably about $30, and it's served me well so far. Okay, so like I said, when you buy a bunch of film equipment, you always end up having to buy more stuff, which really feels like it should be part of the initial thing that you buy. But separate problem there. I've bought a lot of just random little cords. You always need more cords. It's super annoying. So for example, this is my D-tap cable. This goes just directly into the camera. This is a specific one because it mimics the older Sony batteries, so this would not be compatible with the camera that I'm using right now. This would only be compatible with the A7S II. But this is just a way to plug directly into the V-mount so that I can power my camera for a long time. I've bought other cords. Like I mentioned, I had to get a HDMI to micro HDMI for the monitor because, like I said, again, the A7S II doesn't have mini HDMI and only has micro HDMI. I guess this is just cons of buying an older camera, so maybe this is my fault. And then I've had to buy some other things, like I have a D-tap battery charger. Get the batteries, you don't get the charger, so I had to buy that. So if I had to guess, I've probably spent about $100 on just various different cords. So another thing you end up just needing a lot of if you work with cameras is extra batteries. So of course I talked about having these V-mount batteries to power your camera for a very long time, but you don't always want to throw a V-mount battery onto your camera. It's not really always needed, just depending on the job. So sometimes it's helpful just to have extra batteries just to be able to stick in your pocket, power your camera for longer, especially if you're using your camera maybe a little more casually, maybe if you're traveling or just something of that nature. So I have a bunch of extra batteries. Of course, like I said, I now have 2 cameras that take 2 different kinds of batteries. So I have a bunch of the, I guess these are the NPFW50s. These are the older Sony batteries, they're a little smaller, they don't last as long. I have a bunch of these. I like 8 or 10 of them just to have extra batteries for the A7S II. I don't use these that often anymore. And then I just bought some more of the newer Sony batteries. Let's see if I can read these. This is the NPFZ 100s right here. So now I've got like 4 of these. And these go with the ZVE10 too. They're definitely better. They power the camera for much longer. So again, just one con of having my older camera. Maybe eventually I'll get an A7S III when the price drops a little bit, but for now this works fine. So I've got a lot of extra batteries. Oh gosh, I gotta think about how much money have I spent on batteries. Oh geez. I've probably spent, at this point, maybe about $150 or $160 just on these little extra batteries. Okay, before I talked about the camera cage that I got set up on the A7S II right now. This is not a small rig, so it's not like the best, industry standard one. It's kind of off-brand. I don't really know what this brand is. Calife. But it's nice. It works well. It fits the camera. I got a little top handle and a little side handle here, so it's just really easy to rig from this thing. It wasn't that expensive. I think it cost me like $70 or $75. Okay, perhaps one of the most important tools in all of filmmaking that I just always have on hand is some gaffer's tape. So I bought this literally, I think at like AutoZone or something like that. Super easy to pick up at a spot like that. You can also order it online. It's very sturdy, it lasts forever. I could probably use some smaller strips of it, but for now this works fine. It serves a lot of purposes. I don't really remember how much this cost. It was probably about 20 bucks or something like that if I had to guess, and it really comes in handy. Okay, another really helpful thing I have here is an ND filter. Just a way to, be able to shoot outside on really sunny days. So we used this on the short film I just released, Maintenance. Really came in handy. I've used it recently on stuff outside. It always comes in handy. I would highly recommend one of these. I do think this only fits a few of my lenses. It might not fit one of them. So I probably need another one of these, but for now, this is fine. I think it cost me about $75. So this is something fun that I just got literally over the weekend. So this is very new. This is the Small Rig Film Riot multi-tool. So if you don't know Film Riot, they're an excellent YouTube channel, really got me into this stuff in a lot of ways when I was young, and they've partnered with Small Rig to create this excellent little multi-tool that just has like all of, anything you could possibly need of any size to tighten stuff while you're actively working. So I've already used it a couple of times just casually. I really like this thing. I did not buy this. This was a gift, but if I did buy it, it would have been about $40. Okay, something else super helpful, a slate. Now, not only is it just really fun to have a slate, and it makes it feel, like a real film set, like you're really doing the thing. You're really a part of something. It's also a super helpful tool for keeping your footage organized, keeping things set up well for your editor or for yourself if you are going to be editing the thing, which oftentimes I am. This is a very simple slate. I use it only on smaller stuff. Sometimes if I'm able to, I like to have a sound mixer who can be there with a smart slate and just have like just has a lot more tools available for organizational purposes, but in the meantime, like this thing works perfectly fine. I think this was like $15. It is not much. It's a little, it's not built super well, but it gets the job done, and that's kind of all I need. So yeah, get a slate. And the last thing that I own that I almost forgot to talk about is I own 2 C-stands. So if you don't know what C-stands are, again, I'll include some extra footage because I didn't pull the other one out. But C-stands are the most like industry standard light stand that you'll see on every single film set that you ever work on. I own 2 of them. I bought them used from somebody locally for about $150. Now I will say there's one big missing piece to this whole kit, and that's the fact that I don't own any lights. Lights are something I just have not quite invested in yet. I don't quite have the money to invest in lights yet. You know, lights and lenses are kind of 2 very essential places where I need to focus some money and some energy. I am using a light right now. Like I said, I'm borrowing some equipment from somebody for the next few days, so I'm just taking advantage of having this light, and it's working pretty well. So I will probably eventually pick one up for myself, but as of right now, I don't own any lights. Okay, so I did all this math beforehand, and I typed out a grand total, but now I'm pretty sure it's wrong because I remembered a couple other things that I forgot that I own while filming this video. So now I'm just going to give you my best estimate as to what I think this grand total is, and then I'll check myself in post. So note to future Blake, check the math. But I think, if I'm correct in my assumption, that this grand total for this whole kit, everything that I own as it currently stands, is somewhere around $3,800. And like I said, currently that's without lights. So there's a lot of room for growth here. There's more stuff that I probably need. I generally don't like to be a super materialistic person, but when it comes to gear, it's just one of those things that having the available tools really just aids the process and makes things a lot easier. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to do is just show you what I started with, so I can give you a little bit of an idea of how you really can grow in the equipment that you have. So this is the camera that I used for many years since I was 16. It's got a weird lens on it right now. This is like a Russian lens called the Helios. I just use it casually sometimes. Now it just sits on my desk. But this camera is the Canon EOS SL1. Again, this is not a full frame camera, but it does have lens interchangeability. And I use this for, gosh, I mean, so many things. I don't think I would ever use it professionally, and I never really did. But I made a lot of things on this camera. I made all my first short films on this camera. I made all my first YouTube videos on this camera. Just any project to kind of like get me started and help me to understand the craft, I made on this camera. And when I got this camera around the age of 16, it was a little under $500. Now this thing I would be lucky to get $100 for this thing now. It is so old. But I really loved this camera. It was a great camera to get me started. It's touchscreen. It's sturdy. It feels good in your hands. It's just a great camera for any kind of beginner. So I say all of that to tell you that this is where I started. It was with this, a GorillaPod, a little tripod that I found at a flea market, and a $20 shotgun mic on top of the camera. And I made countless projects with this, leading all the way into college. I made some stuff in college when I was still using this camera. So start with whatever you have and allow yourself to grow. It takes time to build up in the equipment that you have. Like I said, I still don't own lights, and I still need a new lens to give me a little bit more versatility. There's so much, so much to be done with these tools. It just takes an understanding of what you need. And so what I mean to say today is that it might seem like I have a lot. I just went through a lot of things, and $3,800 is frankly a lot of money. But I didn't spend that all at once. I spent it over a long course of time, building this kit, this arsenal, as I like to say, of gear. The tools do matter, they always will, but what matters more is knowing how to use them. So I would encourage you to focus less on buying the most expensive fancy thing that looks great on your Instagram and looks great in your hands, and just buy the thing that works, that you know how to use, and then make great stuff. So thanks everyone for watching. That's it. That's my rig. You can't see, but I've so much stuff sitting around me right now that I'm not excited to have to clean up as soon as I stop recording. But that's all I have for you today. What is in your rig? What's in your gear arsenal? Tell me in the comments, let's talk about it. Maybe tell me what's your favorite piece of equipment and what stuff did you get started with. I would love to hear what kind of tools you guys are working with. So thank you for watching this episode of Lessons in Filmmaking. If you have any thoughts about what you want to hear, what you want me to talk about next, happy to do it. Drop it in the comments. And yeah, y'all, peace and love. I will see you in the next one.